Welcome back, everyone, to Random Thoughts, coming to you with another high-level game breakdown. This time, we have DRAGAN and we have Hakunay. Let's see what they do here on Red Rum. So before we actually get into it, just wanted to let you know that I am part of the Phobies content affiliate program, so I do, of course, get some compensation from the team for, well, as you can probably guess, producing Phobies content. I still love Phobies, so you're going to be seeing a lot more of it, but just got to get it out there so people have the context. Additional context that you're going to want to know about this is that this is between, at the time of this recording, the number 5 and number 9 players on the arena ladder. So we're talking about players that are absolutely at the top of the game. Let's see what they do here and how this game progresses. So we get a somewhat unique opener here from our blue player, and that's AWOL and Razormouth. Dual 1-drops is interesting. It's also interesting that it's specifically AWOL, because AWOL in this specific case is a level 5 versus a level 10 AWOL from our orange player, Hakunay. Now, the follow-up of Bowmangles is significantly less surprising. It's entirely possible that our blue player is just doing this to try and cap points, and they were planning on maybe setting something up a little bit differently. You know, send the AWOL down here, send the cat up here, but the problem is, given the positioning from Hakunay, wherever the cat ended up, it was likely going to die. Either the AWOL swings in and helps out the Bowmangles, and then ultimately kills the AWOL. It put a real damper on our blue player's plan, but we get a double turret follow-up from our orange player and our blue player. So we'll take a moment to talk about turrets. I was discussing the definition of a turret offline, but right now the working, possibly changing definition is single move ranged phobies, ideally with high stats, both damage output and health, because then they can just get in a spot, control the area, and make your opponent regret trying to invade. Or, obviously, you can slowly advance and kind of bully them out of the way, albeit one move at a time. Hence why we get the terror of a lot of games, Stabby. I'm of the opinion Stabby's the best phobie in the game, and Bowmangles is up there as well. But we're getting a lot of high damage from both players, because, as mentioned, turrets, the AWOLs, and now we have a Gesundheit, and 5 phobies for our orange player. Blue player has banked to 4, so we'll see if they're banking for something larger or not. In my opinion, I tend to, on small maps in general, not necessarily Red Rum, but try and establish a board with 3 or 4 phobies and then try and bank to a much larger one, a 7, 8, 9 cost, that try and go over the top, especially if my opponent has banked to 5 phobies. Because say you get that Hevo 3.0 out, your opponent has 5 phobies, they can't put any more on the board, so you can take a big positional advantage, and then they get to respond. As compared to, excuse me, if instead they had the opportunity to respond right away. So you could flip the board position. But as it is, we saw a Ginsting follow-up, and now we're getting the game of trading 1-drops. Interesting point of note is Hakunay elected to just recap the point instead of putting damage on these. Obviously, these players have access to Clinico, possibly Muffin or other healers as well. I could definitely see why it's not worth it, but I tend to use AWOL as a stabby killer. In this case, it wouldn't be able to connect with stabby, let alone kill it, but the idea is that it pushes a bunch of damage, and it's like, okay, I traded AWOL for stabby. Great. I'm super excited about that, actually. But instead, it's recapping a point, and we get a spider follow-up. This is a pretty solid answer to this current configuration from our blue player, because between these other 3 phobies, you can put a lot of hurt on any given thing that you yoink. Problem here is that now there is, in fact, a retaliation spider. The cat comes in to finally make it a panic point advantage. Well, once again, a panic point advantage. We briefly had it up here with the AWOL. And we are getting the daring spider invade to yoink the stabby. So we're going to have to take note of this. Is first mover advantage here worth it? Because obviously we're going to get the counter damage going down with double Bowmangles hits, a Ginsting hit. Maybe it even gets yoinked into a position like this can move forward and trade stabbies out. Or you go for the spider, which is actually what we're going to see. This is a, well, it's now It's a level 11 spider, originally 1690. Not long for this world is really the answer. So that'll leave our blue player with a significant advantage in the spider. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Able to split the damage here. I was a little worried for a second. I'm like, you're not actually going to leave that thing alive, are you? But in fact, they are not. Now, the sheep follow-up from Hakunay, I've, on record on many occasions, not a fan of sheep, but it is going to get a good hit here. Not maxed out on Phobies and 3 keys remaining, meaning that our blue player can, of course, pop out a Clinico or a muffin in order to try and cure the poison here. But the pull is down. There isn't a huge amount of damage out of our blue player now that the Bowmangles is dead. And since there hasn't been an enormous panic point advantage, yes, Hakunay's taken a lot of damage, but ultimately, still just under 5k health. That's a lot. You got time. You've got time. Now, it is possible that the sheep pays for its sins and goes down, but there are 4 Phobies that are in range to try and put more pressure on everything else. Yep, sheep does go down. Spider recaps a point. The real question is, because this spider is at 1234, and Baby Snaky. Interesting. So 4 keys remaining for our orange player. Baby Snaky is the final Phobie for our blue player. Spider is the target. Definitely makes sense. You're going to position this way so you get max surface area and protect. Yeah, not. That's the other thing I was trying to say is not a word. You protect the Gesundheit because it's behind these obstacles. Jin Sting is the final Phobie. Although it's triple panic point advantage and it's looking dicey, Hakunay seems to be in control of this particular game at this point. You're going to lose these 2 Phobies, but the Jin Sting at this stage has accepted its fate from the poison. It's going to die this turn. There was no way it could even... It had to move last turn if it wanted to get healed. So down goes the Jin Sting, and now it's Turret and Jin Sting. Well, 2 turrets and a Jin Sting, arguably. I mean, I don't really count Gesundheit as a turret. Against Jar and Baby Snaky. Triple panic point advantage going the other way. Seems pretty good. There are still, since I'm blocking it, this is turn 19 of 24. I'm blocking it with the subs down there, which, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, likes and subscribes, or come by the live stream, RTChompGG over on Twitch, Discord, and all the other links are in the description. In the meantime, we're getting a little bees going down. We're going to get a Jar elimination. We're watching the slow demise of our blue player here because, I mean, this was pretty well played. This was a very tight game. If I had to... Ooh. They're taking the line that they have to, 2,400 health to 47. But triple panic point advantage. Is Hakunay going to pull back? They are, in fact, not. They're just going to go for it. You would have killed the snake? I could see that because the Jar is easier to take out, as well as the fact that it would have taken longer to get around to here, on top of the fragility, obviously, that we were just talking about. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hakunay just did the math here. So the big question is, can I pause this and go back? What was the pivotal turn here? We know that Hakunay takes it. It kind of feels like, honestly, this spider invade, and the game replay may break, so we might have to go back in, but the spider invade here might have been the game. Because ultimately, everything kind of played out logically from both players. I don't know that our blue player, you know, made an egregious error here, and honestly, this looked kind of bad at first. The sheep follow-up was actually somewhat wild. I was a little surprised about the sheep follow-up. And this was, of course, the risk. And Hakunay had to have known this, that the spider was going to die as part of this process, because there's just no way that it wouldn't. Maybe the stabby was unexpected, but then again, maybe it was fine. Because you were knowing that you were trading Spider and Stabby for Stabby and Bowmangles, and while they still have a Spider, they're low on keys, one, and two, their damage output isn't great. So you do have the opportunity to collapse on their team. The other potential play that could have happened from our blue player was on this follow-up turn, instead of trying to kill the sheep, try and get the Jin Sting onto a healing spot. But if that happens, that means sheep survives. And in either scenario, and that may have been part of Hakunay's thought process, is that, well, if they leave the Jin Sting up here to trade for the sheep, then the Jin Sting is going to go down as well. I can outlast them. I am at a key advantage. If they try to save the Jin Sting, great. The sheep is going to connect with even more stuff, and I'm still fine with that. But I think that invade was realistically what it was. Now, I would have been sweating it here. And we do see the takedown on the spider because you don't want more yoinks coming in. But at this point, your army is pretty solid, and you have that life buffer. This is absolutely playing to your advantage with the life advantage. It comes up all the time. Patience is key in Phobies, and striking at the appropriate, well, I guess the better way to put it is timing is key in Phobies. Both patience as well as advancing when appropriate. In this case, it seems like the spider invade was worth it. I don't know that Baby Snakey was really the answer here. I mean, it worked. It worked out in favor of our orange player. So maybe there was something else that our blue player could have done. Again, they could have gotten a Clinico to heal the Jin Sting. Would that have been a good idea? I mean, we can only look at what we have right now on the table, and clearly this didn't work. But well played by both players. It's important, as always, to break down these games and look at all the little things that players do. So let me know down in the comments, did I miss anything? How would you have changed this game so that blue player takes it? Or, like I said, come by the live stream and critique my critique live if you want to. Links are all in the description. Likes and subscribes, as mentioned earlier, of course, help. But that's going to do it for this particular game breakdown. So, as always, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And Black Lives Matter.